where it's like they would kidnap Americans and like pay to like torture them. 5 years ago, I was homeless living in my car as an Uber driver. I'd never forget that. Everyone, I kid you not, just about, I want to say like 99% of people were like, dude, you're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about. Stop trying to scare people. Tell people I'm not like an expert in cruising. I don't think anybody really is, or expert in travel.
You're about to watch part 2 of a 2-part interview with Jay from the SHIPLIFE. If you have not seen part 1 yet, do me a favor, stop this video and click the link in the description for part 1, or the one, I forget which side it's going to be on, and watch part 1 first, because part 2 will not make a lot of sense unless you see part 1. And we hope you enjoy the interview we had with Jay from the SHIPLIFE.
Like, I made this money using my cell phone, just making videos? Huh, okay, let's keep this going then. And, you know, given I'm not on the ship anymore, and I'm talking about what it's like working on the ship, so naturally the channel just dives, right? So I was lucky, averaging between $300 to $400. So I was still doing Uber at the time. I'm like, you know, something tells me to let's keep rolling with this, see what happens. This is all 2019. So I'd say from April to like December, I'm Ubering like 70 hours a week because the gigs were here and there. I lost my connections from working on the ship. You're gone for 6 months, you basically drop your life, and now you got to try to reconnect with your network, your team, companies you've been working for. So at that time, I was doing Uber pretty much full time. I was doing some detailing on the side, trying to start a car detailing business that was flopping horribly. Very difficult in Florida. It's hot. So, it's hot, you know, and I have the money.
Africa hot.
It's like Africa hot.
So yes, so I'm sitting here like, I would have a schedule. I wake up at 4 in the morning, I go Uber until about 9 or 10. I'd eat breakfast and I'd make a video. And I do this pretty much every day. And I would average like $400 a month. And I had 1 month that popped off and got like 700. I'm like, I really like this YouTube thing. So I was like, okay, I love traveling. Let me go do Airbnb reviews. So I rented like what I consider, I titled it as like the cheapest Airbnb in my city. Obviously, as you can imagine, it did not do well, right? It was like a $10 a night. It did horrible. And then I did one. I was like, okay, I found for like a couple $100. So I did that one. It still didn't do well. I'm like, damn, I don't know. What do I do? Maybe this isn't for me, you know? So I was getting ready to quit, actually. So now we fast forward to 2020. This is the big turning point here. 2020, I'm getting ready to quit. In the meantime, I'm checking in with my friends because this is when COVID was starting to come through. We had this situation with the Diamond Princess. It's like the catalyst for like cruising, like being in a bad position when people were saying, oh, cruising is the reason why we have this situation. So I'm checking on my friends, right? I'm like, check one of my friends that worked on Celebrity Apex at the time. Now this ship was brand new, no passengers on board ever, sitting over in France. Say, Jen, how's everything going? It's like, good, we have 300 COVID cases on board. Somebody's in ICU and this, and I'm like, no way. She's like, yeah, they're talking about sending everybody home. Now keep in mind, this is the beginning of March. End of February, beginning of March.
So it's in the news, right? Meaning COVID is in the news, but the world per se hasn't shut down yet.
Yes.
Right?
COVID at that time was just now really starting to get into the U.S. and nobody knew what it was. This is OG COVID, not Delta and all these other variants.
Right.
The original, where nobody knew what the heck was going on. Things were starting to shut down in other parts of the world, not necessarily the U.S., right? So I check on my friend Jen. She said, they're sending everybody home, potentially. I'm like, really? Like, who'd you hear from? So I heard from one of my managers. I said, the ship? So no, the entire fleet, all the celebrities. I'm like, no way. You know, then I go check on one of my friends, Royal Caribbean. You know, Royal Caribbean Group, they're all part of the same company. So check one of my friends was on Quantum of the Seas at the time. She had my friends over in Asia, another friend over on, I was thinking Venture of the Seas over in out of Miami at the time. And I check on both of them. They're telling me the same thing. So yeah, we've heard rumors. Nobody's formally told us, but we've heard. Obviously, everybody's talking, you know. And then I check on my friend. He was a cruise director from Carnival. I said, you heard about this? He's like, I've heard rumors, you know, there are people talking about it, but nothing's been confirmed. So I made a video, because given I'm about to quit YouTube, and I'm like, you know what, let me just, I guess, talk about this COVID stuff. It could be potentially good stuff for content. I did another like 15-minute long video, me stumbling, like just trying to go through my words, explaining to people, like, you know, I'm like, guys, I at one point, a year ago, I was working on cruise ships. I'm talking to my friends, and they're telling me that because of what's happening, they may, all of them, be going home. That's never been done before. And I explained to them, look, you have to understand, because most of my viewers are guests, like, they're not crew. Right? So I said, look, whenever your vacation ends, and you go back to the home port that you started sailing out of, there are crew members that are finishing their contracts, signing on and signing off, some starting their contracts, some filling in. It's a very intricate process. You have about 100,000 crew members being circulated from 100 different countries. I said, right now, we got travel restrictions. We don't know what's going on with COVID. They're talking about sending everybody home. And it's a very intricate process getting on the ship. It takes about 3 months for any individual crew member, between the trainings, the yellow fever shots, all the stuff they got to get done before they even get on board the ship. So if they send everybody home with these travel restrictions, it's going to take a long time. And I would argue bringing them back is probably going to take longer, because it's never been done to send 100,000 crew members back home to 100 different countries doing travel
Shut
restrictions.
down an entire
Yes,
industry.
and not go and not even know what's going on with COVID at the time. I said, if they do this, they will shut down the industry, and when they do, it'll take probably 6 months to a year for it to start back up. I made this video on March 8th, right? Video goes viral. Just under 500,000 people see it. Everyone, I kid you not, just about, I want to say like 99% of people were like, dude, you're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about. Stop trying to scare people. You're just trying to make money. Like, why are you saying this? Sure enough, lo and behold, March 13th, 2020, the entire global cruise ship industry says they're doing a 1-month suspension, a 1-month pause. Everyone in the world, right? Next thing I know, people start flooding into my channel. Like, I had to continue making videos talking about COVID and everything, layoffs and also that could potentially come on the cruise ship industry. So next thing I know, I want to say for the next 2 months or so, about 35,000 people start piling into the channel and subscribing. Like, how did you know this? Blah, blah, blah. So then they're backlogging all of my other videos. So I remember this so vividly. My last checks, we get, on YouTube, we get paid once a month.
Yep.
One time on the 21st, unless it falls on a holiday or a weekend. And my last check for the month of February 2020 was $211.46. And then for March, when my channel popped off, it was just shy of $3,000.
Because of the one video.
Yeah. And I said,
And that's the key moment
yeah.
when the channel turned.
Yeah.
And from that, it's just been, I don't want to call it a whirlwind, but it's just been hyper growth.
Yeah, well, so the channel kept moving, and I kept talking about all this stuff, and people know I'm a former crew member, so now the crew that are also stuck on ships, some of them were stuck for only 6 months, they weren't getting any information from the cruise line. Part of it's understandable because it's corporate, it has to go through one person to another person and transition to, but in the ships, no communication, nobody coming on or off, the crew members weren't hearing anything. They hear one day they're going home, and then they pack their bags and say, oh, look, well, we can't. The governments in your country isn't allowing.
Yeah.
It was a lot, stressful situation, so they're watching my videos. So the channel was just growing, everybody's sharing it. So then I was like, okay, maybe I got lucky with that 3,000. So okay, let me just keep going on. And then I just like, okay, we'll see what happens. I started making a couple more videos like every other day. And while also doing Uber. And Uber was slowing down because people weren't traveling as much.
Right.
Tourist destination like Florida. And that next month, it was like 2,800. I said, I'm going to go in.
I'm in.
And my mind was like, dude, that guy, that YouTuber that I met during Uber was right. I think, So at that point, I would stay up for like days on end, just making videos and seeing what was going on. Like there were times I stayed up like 3 days straight, and then I'd sleep for like 2 hours. I'd just continue making videos. Now, given at the time, I knew nothing about YouTube even then. I knew about thumbnails. I had like a $20 mic from eBay, and you can still hear the echo in my room, right? I was in like a little hollow apartment with nothing in it, a futon, the kitchen. That was really it. A crappy TV, right?
What I find amazing, guys, and again, we talk about just starting, all right? He does everything from his phone. Everything.
Even to this day.
Videos, the audio, the thumbnails, the editing, the posting, all from his phone. You don't have to go out, buy $10,000 worth of equipment.
Yep.
Just go do it.
Like I would argue, especially these days, when you look at where the world is now with, let's say, short form content, that would be like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Reels, right? People don't care about the quality. Like a phone, your average phone does the job.
Absolutely.
My phone does 4K.
Yeah.
Right? The cameras do 4K. And most people, even if they use phones for, let's say, the videos, unless you're like a Mr. Beast that has a full-fledged production team, just about everybody's uploading in 1080p.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, like you guys would think it's still like HD. You could still do like 60 frames. Like on the phone, I just do, instead of 30, you do 60 frames and you just upload from there. And people.
So you only shoot in 1080?
Yeah, 1080,
and 60
frames. Yeah.
Interesting. People, I shoot in 4K at 60
frames. Well, people look at the videos like, dude, what camera are you using? To this day, I'm like, dude, iPhone.
I'm using my iPhone.
I just upgrade whenever the new iPhone comes out. So that's the problem. Like I hear a lot of people like they say, oh well, I can't start. I don't have the money for equipment. I'm like, look, you do, like you said, to your word. You just have to just start, right? Because the thing is, like, there's something that happens when you go. Let's say you do have the money. Let's say you put out a budget, right? You have the capital to say, I want to start a full-fledged YouTube channel. And now you go buy $20,000, $30,000 worth of equipment. I've seen people do it.
Yeah.
Right. I promise you, they go do it. And what happens is now you have, guess what? Expectations, over inflated hopes, right? And you want things now, especially in this world now. We want things so fast, right? When you go buy that amount of money, you automatically think that because you have the nicest gear out there, that you're automatically just going to start killing it. And when you don't, as you can imagine, that just drives you down mentally. And then you give up.
Yep.
And I see that a lot. So I always like tell people, it's like I don't do like I want to say formal coaching, but I tell people about this. Like, look, there's so much more to YouTube. Somebody with a genuine or just genuine personality or a character they have developed, which takes time, is going to go a lot further than any gadgets and gizmos that you buy.
Right.
It does not make a difference. There's a big content creator. He's not really doing as much anymore, but there was David Dobrik. right? He does everything with his phone. It's like I think 20 million, 15
I
to 20
forget.
million.
It's been a while.
But dude, he's a multi-millionaire, and every single piece of content, no mics, no nothing done with his phone. There are plenty. I can go on.
Yeah.
Casey Neistat, yeah, he was a videographer.
Yep.
But at the same time, he does very like just straightforward. He understands how to take, let's say, what you would call maybe cheap content, as far as using your phone, and turn it into a full-fledged production, and people love it. And like I said, with the implementation of TikTok and all these other apps, people don't care.
You just have to be creative.
Yeah. Well, there was a guy, I think his name is Jevin Dovey on YouTube. He did like an experiment, right? There's another one, Peter McKinnon, all these like these YouTubers that talk about videography and photography. And the thing is, like, they did an experiment. And he said, look, I'm going to demonstrate an ice maker, a coffee maker, right? He said, I'm going to do one with my, he had like a Samsung, some Samsung. I'm doing my Samsung, and I'm going to do the other one with my red camera. The red camera is what they use for like the movies. And like, so you're talking about $100,000 camera. He said, I'm going to edit it. I'm going to do full production, transitions, everything, and upload both of them to TikTok. Which one do you think did the best?
It was the one done on his phone.
The off the cuff.
Yeah.
Him just kind of like talking, no mic. People loved it.
Yeah.
And, you know, so to me, it goes to show the different time in the world. People want real now.
They do.
Like, they want something to look more real than anything. If somebody's authentic, they're like, look, I resonate with that. Because especially now these days, there's so much going on. And we live in the era of, this is a digital revolution. We're not going back. Unless a meteorite comes, or I don't know, the time machine comes and puts us all back in time. This is the era of information. And we have every single bit of information available to our phone. Like, so that could be a positive, and it can also come as a detriment, because now, a lot of people that, since it is, we don't even think about it. Since the information is available, we know all we got to do is tap it in.
Yep.
Where we don't study it. Meanwhile, we can learn anything. YouTube, anything. Like YouTube, I call it the University of YouTube.
It's funny. I say the same thing all the time. If I need to know something, need to learn something, I'm going to go to YouTube University.
All of it. Every single bit of information that you ever really need, virtually about anything, illegal or not, is now available online.
It is.
And people don't understand this, right? So the thing is, though, like when people look up this information about something, they don't understand they could either start a business, or let's say somebody's being authentic, and you can start a community. Like for me, even when cruising, I always tell people I'm not like an expert in cruising. I don't think anybody really is, or expert in travel. Something always goes wrong. Whether it be something minute, something small, right? You forgot your bag, one of the bags, you forgot your favorite dress, pants, whatever, flight delay, flight cancellation. It happens. I talk about those things because whether people say I'm being negative or whatever, that's something I'll get a lot. I'm very transparent in my videos, every single one of them. I'm not afraid. I'll throw jokes in there or whatever to make it entertaining, because I come from an entertainment background, which I'll be honest, did help me in my content. I come from entertainment, so I understand what people to a certain extent want. And I've been around a lot of people, so I know. But I'm transparent. Some people, naturally, it's the internet. You're going to get a lot of internet trolls or whatever, or like people like in my content. They go, why is something always happening to you on every cruise? And I'm like, I guarantee you, if I talk to anybody around here and I ask them, hey, was your cruise, would you say 100%, if you really think about it, did everything work out to your satisfaction? You know, I had a great time, but I did have this problem with my excursion or whatever. I just talk about that stuff. And that's kind of giving me...
Well, some of it's also realizing a moment.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it could be something very simple. For example, we were in a port the other day, and we're in the tourist area of the port. Beautiful island here in the Greek, I forget exactly what island we're on, but it was absolutely beautiful. I'm just taking it all in. I turn around, and there's McDonald's.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Yeah.
McDonald's. And I'm like, that's a moment.
Yeah.
Right? And so I filmed a short. So we're on the beautiful island of Santorini in Greece, in the Mediterranean, and I turn around and I see this. I don't know about you, but that kind of ruined it a little bit for me. And I got a bunch of haters.
Well, like, see, for me, because, you know...
Thank you.
My girlfriend is French, Lauren, you met her. I spend a lot of time in Europe, right? And for me, I always tell people, my whole message on both my channels, I'm like, look, I think everybody should travel. Everybody that can should do it, because I think travel is the best education that you're ever going to find on planet Earth. People tend, especially these days, with, sure, you got university and stuff, but to me, there is a difference between education and intelligence. They're two different things.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
As somebody told me once, there are a lot of educated fools out there. I know plenty of people with master's degrees that are, I hate to say it, some of the most dumbest people you've ever met. You know, they don't think about much other than outside of whatever it is their profession is or their area of expertise is. Yeah. I'm like, look, I would argue, look, go educate yourself, especially even as like an American, right? For us, it's just kind of like, oh, well, it's the #1 place. We hear this as a kid, you know? And then everywhere else is like, everybody hates Americans. They're out to get you. They saw, what's that movie where it's like they would kidnap Americans and like pay to like torture them and all. It was Hostile. You ever see that?
Hostel. No, I haven't seen that one.
You should check that out. A lot of people seen Hostel where they hear these things about Mexico or whatever, and I'm like, guys, like, it ain't like that over there. It's not. Like, nobody is running around saying, okay, we're going to kidnap you and cut off your big toe. That's what we're going to do. No. But I always say, sure, it's not for everybody. You got to have a combination between common sense, a little bit of common sense, which we all know universally is not common, a little bit of common sense, a little bit of street smart. And that is all you need, and it'll go a long way.
So back to the channel. So we've hit the moment, right, with COVID and the cruise industry, you know, closing down, and that video went and boom, 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 boom. You're off and running. So you're doing what I call feed the beast, right? Making video after video and growth, right? As of the time of the making of this video, Jay's just about to pop 200,000. I mean, we may be there right now. He's so close.
It'd be nice.
Yeah. And so, what's next?
Well, so right now, I mean, I'm kind of dabbling with both. I mean, my channel, I just set up a plan. Like, for me, I'm very, like, goal-oriented. I was an athlete. I ran track most of my life, and I competed competitively, breakdancing, you know? Competitions all over the world, Mexico, France, you name it. So I believe that, especially if you're going to be at one of the top, you kind of have to have that competitive drive about you. That is the reality. Because I hear a lot of people like, oh, yeah, but your numbers, you seem kind of arrogant. Oh, I'm like, dude, these are people that typically haven't met me. But I would tell them straight up, I'm like, look, I can be a competitive person, but I'm a very humble person. I don't forget where I come from. 5 years ago, I was homeless living in my car as an Uber driver. I'd never forget that. But do I give myself my flowers and say, you know what, look, I know what I've done, and I want more. Right? Because if you're going to get into these kind of games, not even games, if you get into these kind of businesses, you do want to, who doesn't want to be the best at it? And for me, I'm like, okay, we hit 200K. There are people that are, again, it's like my channel right now is the 3rd or 4th largest in the world now. I'm like, okay, how do we get to number 1? I do a lot of research, study, I take my time, but I also just love traveling in general. So I'm like, okay, for the ship life, let me just keep growing. I want to be number 1 first, and then I'll figure out what the goal is. I know my content works. I'm like, okay, well, then if the implement of like YouTube Shorts, it has a mission on that end to boost your channel to ridiculous numbers. The shorts, because more people can potentially see it because it's shorter content, it can give you more subscribers. So I'm like, okay, we'll take that angle. But after that, I also just want to branch out to more. I'm like, okay, we already have a good formula. I have my other channel, Jay the Nomad, just about to hit 50K as well.
Nice.
50,000 subscribers.
Again, Jay the Nomad.
Yeah. I started that one last year, almost at 50K, but that one's doing almost as many views as my main channel when I upload. Every video will do 40, 50,000 views at minimum. Right? So I'm like, okay, well, I like traveling. The cruise stuff, I'll put my vlogs on there, and then my ship life is more formal, and I'm keeping it that way. Kind of sit down, talking head, you only see this, so I can do my videos in my underwear, you know, and I keep it very formal, so to speak, right, on there. And on my other channel, I'll do the vlogs. I'm like, okay, well, the cruise stuff is working, but what if I branched out to the theme parks, the resorts? Nobody's really doing like this kind of content on resorts to a certain extent, and then the airlines and the trains. I've seen like these little like 48-hour Euroline reviews, and these things are hitting millions of views. I said, okay, well, let me go branch over to that first. So that's my next goal. Just kind of rinse and repeat.
What's interesting about travel is, to your point, it's a massive segment.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's planes, trains, automobiles, hotels, you know, Airbnbs, cruise ships, land vacations. There's a mass thing out there.
And it's like, yeah, sure. Let's say, for example, people will talk about the money. I do believe, like, for example, we talked about this. I think there's a difference between like an influencer and content creator. So the influencer will essentially go where the wind blows or who's writing the check. There's a content creator. They may have a love for something. And yes, the money is important. I always say, look, people have this whole gripe about money, especially these days. Money is not everything, but it affects everything. I have a son. I would like to retire one day. If I have a medical emergency, I need these things. I also want to be able to enjoy my life, give a good time. I took my mom to Alaska last year. I'm the only person in my family that has ever traveled outside of the United States. To me, you need money to do those things.
Yes.
So it's like, yeah, of course, I look at it from that standpoint. So it's like, imagine, let's say the cruise ship industry is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. It's like 160, 78 something billion dollars, right? Imagine being a leader in that, as far as maybe building an influence, not being an influencer, but having an influence in that space and getting even a piece of that, a fraction of it. You can do that on YouTube. And then these companies start reaching out to you and they're like, oh, well, you know, you have this authority in the space. For them, these companies set budgets of millions of dollars. Sure, you know, tens of millions, right? That need to get exhausted. They need to get rid of it. So what'll happen is, gone are the days, for the most part, we all can agree that commercials aren't really around like that.
No.
Right? And if you are, who's watching them? You got
No, there are very few people are watching terrestrial TV. Most people are on their phone, they're on a tablet,
Yes.
They're getting it on the go.
Yes. So now I'm like, okay, well, how else can I continue to build capital? Let me go get some sponsors. And look at it. If you look at NBA, if you look at WWE, any big company, what do they have? Even them that have millions, if not billions of dollars at their disposals, why do they still have sponsors? Because it does feel nice to know that somebody else is willing to take on that let's say that, I don't know, the responsibility of whatever budget you got to deal with, the overhead you got to deal with for a shout out or some promotion. So we go that route too and say, okay, well, there's companies that I believe in that I want to work with. Right now, Fiji Water, they just reached out to me. They want to sponsor. I'm like, okay, I've been drinking Fiji Water for a long time. Right? And it's like, you never know. Nike, whoever, they can say, hey, look, you know what? We like what you're doing. You're very unique with what you're doing. You're a dancer on cruise ships. You're being athletic. We want to work with you now. But it's like you can take that capital and you can then apply it to other places. I want to do an app. I'm keeping that hush-hush right now. I would love to create an app. I'm looking for a software developer now. All of revolving around cruising. So for me, overall, it's like I have ideas, but I've always been a go-with-the-flow kind of guy. I always say, look, as they say with luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Right? I wait for those opportunities, and if I know that I'm prepared for it, I listen and I say, okay, what can I get out of this? Right? Sure, you can put down the line of selfish, but we all are. We're all going to look out for each other, because I always believe if you're not looking out for yourself, you yourself not happy, you can't give anybody else anything, and you can't make anybody else happy if you're not in that right state of mind. Right. So for me, I'm like, look, let's just keep building. I'm just kind of go with the flow. I have ideas that I have written down. I have goals that I want to meet as far as the subscriber numbers, but that's just the gist of it. I'm kind of going with the flow right now.
So, he mentioned a while ago he was a talker.
Yeah.
If you've ever watched any of his videos, they're usually a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
For those who've ever wanted to know anything about Jay, you have now heard it here. But this is sort of why we get along. I haven't said very much, but I'm very much a talker, like Jay is. And so when Jay's around, I just listen, right? You know, his channel is much larger than mine right now.
Right now.
But I'm coming. I'm coming.
I'm a little worried now.
Maybe 1 and 2.
Look, it's always friendly
I'm fine if you
competition.
get 1. I'm okay with 2.
Okay.
1 and 2. 1 and 2.
So we're good?
1 and 2.
Let's do that.
I want to thank you for making some time to sit down with us, and I'm sure everybody out there is enjoying a little bit of the insight in the brain of Jay. And so, again, we want to thank you all for joining us. For the Tall Man Clan out there, God bless you guys. And until we see you all again, be safe.
Take it easy.